Well, guys, this has been beautiful up here. Now, the one thing that I learned is that when you're coming up to this parking lot, on the website, it says the parking lot closes at 11. There are no gates on this parking lot. A lot of people, I think, come up here and they go on like 3 days a week, whatever, backpacking trips. I think you can park your vehicle here for 3 days and even stay the night. So something to learn. And if you're watching this video and you plan on coming up to the west side of the mountain, it's on Hood River down Route 35, to do some stargazing. It's fantastic. Now, I will say, I think the parking lot, it wasn't slammed packed like I thought it would be. And I've talked to a few people, which is really nice. Most people out here are all pretty friendly. A lot of locals are coming up here to stargaze. Some are just travelers passing through. I've met a couple. And so trying to get a night lapse last night wasn't working. It was so busy, and even almost up through midnight, and it wasn't a lot of cars, but it was just enough that every time, because it takes a while for the camera to capture that light coming in from the stars. You know, you can do like a whole hour, only get like 8 seconds of video. And then all of a sudden a car comes in and it just streaks and ruins the whole shot, because their headlights are on. And I mean, there was only one car that came in last night that drove in with ambient lights, their parking lights on. So very minimal light. And, the rest of them just regular headlights coming in with their bright lights. I'm like, no, my shot. And then it was so windy, and a lot of people were cold. I wasn't too bad, probably not until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning when I woke up. You know, I just put my hiking cot down on the pavement, and I'll show you. And I pretty much just laid on that and looked up at the stars all night. You know, I didn't get the shot that I wanted, and that's sad. Some of it, you know, I'm using a night lapse mode with the GoPro. Not sure, you know, it should at least be opening and catching the stars. But I do have 2 more days of this. I will come back out later tonight. I did manage to get up and catch a beautiful sunrise over the mountain. Me and Rosie got to get up early before everybody else and come out and play. So, yeah, with that, I have a mess down there that I need to go clean up. I'll show you as I'm walking down where I'm parked. But yeah, even the moon is still out over here. Let's see if the GoPro will pick that up. So looks like the GoPro may have picked that up. I seen a little speck of white in the preview, and I have been finding, you know, if I get it in my video editor, it does show up a little bit better. I'm still undecided about this GoPro. You know, I've seen people do night lapses, catching the starry night. I've got all my settings right. I know I do. But, like, there were a couple good shots. But it was like only 8 seconds of video. And I've got it where it says no limit on duration. So, you know, last time, you know, I was going to set it for like, I think the timer like every 30 seconds, but that instead of auto. But last time I did that, it didn't catch any video. It was all black. So I didn't mess with the controls. But yeah, my little camping setup here. Now this parking lot has emptied out quite a bit. But I have got to organize this mess. I went through, I've set my little handheld tripod down at last night when I switched the GoPro over to my telescope tripod, and I went rummaging through everything looking to find where I set it down, only to find it was in the front seat underneath everything. But I made coffee earlier and I was going to take it on my walk and I didn't. She sees the dog. Stop. And so I think I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to enjoy my coffee. Then I'm going to pack up and go to the other campsite. Maybe make some breakfast and stuff over there. Yeah. So, yeah, this is called the White River Sno-Park, and it's on the west side of the mountain. So it's the West Sno-Park. And this is where people go hiking, snowshoeing, through the mountains and trails. So this is one of the spots here in the Pacific Northwest where people like to, a popular spot to come up and stargaze. Now truthfully, I don't know if I'm set on it, especially if I want to do camera shots, you know, or even looking through my telescope and having people coming in at all hours, especially on, let's say, a popular stargazing night like the Perseids Meteor shower. There were quite a few people here just for that, and right around midnight, of course, they start leaving. The peak is around midnight, so I did get up and I tried the night lapse again at like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, because that's another good time to see it. But like I said, I was only getting like 8 seconds of video, and it just really, it wasn't working out. So I am going to have to do a little bit more research before tonight and make sure. And not only that, too, that moon was so bright. I don't know if it was really focusing in on the stars. So I did turn my GoPro around to try to, you know, focus and get a little bit of that moon. But again, yeah, I thought I had my settings right, but apparently they weren't right. So, you know, I'm doing 55K, got my shutter speed. Actually, I think my shutter speed was down at like 15. I might have to up it. But, you know, I did a moon lapse last weekend. I know, just over the weekend. It was only 2 days ago when I went camping up at the Cove Palisades. Same settings, and it was perfect. You know, I mean, it stayed, and it over an hour's worth of footage. I got like about 60 seconds worth of a moon lapse. So I think the auto, it shuts off when it wants to. So I'm gonna have to figure out, look in my settings and see something. And it seemed like it was working perfect. You know, when you're recording, it says 00 on the night lapse. And I researched that, and it said it's okay. It can take an hour to get a couple seconds worth of video at 00. But when I did my night lapse out at Cove Palisades, it kept doing the countdown, and it was constantly counting down and constantly grabbing those night shots. You know, you could see it. It was working. And so, and I used the same settings. I saved those settings. So I'm going to have to redo it again. Maybe it wasn't the same settings. And it didn't save when I went into my night lapse mode. So with that, we're going to give it one more try. You know, I have until the 15th. So I'm going to try and come out one more night. And then, you know, I do want 1 or 2 nights just at the campsite where I'm not traveling back and forth. You know, and having to unpack things and repack them. So there were, yeah. So I think for right now, I'm going to enjoy my cup of coffee. And then I'm going to pack up and go and enjoy my campsite that I paid for. And next year, I'm not paying for a campsite. I'm just going to camp here and go maybe travel around in day use or something like that. All right. I need coffee. All right. This is just... It is absolutely relaxing. I have picked a great time to do this. So, oh, I have somebody walking down and over to me. Somebody I was talking with earlier who's actually traveling from Lake Tahoe. I love meeting people on the road. I'm going to shut this down for a minute and talk with my friend. Alright guys, so I'm getting ready to leave the Sno-Park. It's going on 9 a.m. You know, what I kind of loved about staying here, you know, besides meeting some great people, which we'll talk more about at camp, is I didn't feel rushed to get out of here. And talking with some of the people around, I found out you can actually stay at this park for up to about 14 days before they kick you out. And it's just a little park up. This is where people come up, they go hiking, they go camping. So I guess it only makes sense that they have a parking lot where people can, you know, obviously park their cars and go hiking and camping. So I'm going to explore more and look on Google more about the trails, any campsites out there for hiking. I still have one more place I would like to check out before the summer ends, and it'll be coming up in a couple weeks. You know, next week I have a full week of work training, back to the grind, and then I get one more week off before summer break. And so I'm gonna probably plan a 2-3 day trip during that week, come back and relax at home for 2 days before I go back to my seasonal job. And you know, I got to talk with some really great people that actually, you know, they're retired, they're traveling. Some of them are just passing through, and you know, they sold their homes, they sold their properties, went and got a van, and they've been doing it for like 5 years. And they're doing it for the same reasons I'm thinking about doing it myself, whether it's an age thing, you know, to financial as well. And how you want to live your life before you hit your golden years, and getting out there and just adventuring and living off the grid for a little bit and enjoying life. That freedom away from the hustle and bustle. That's what I'm looking for. I mean, I spent most of my younger years free spirited and didn't really plan for a great retirement. I do have a really great job I'm probably gonna hopefully retire at. And I like this job because it does allow me a lot of time off, that where I can travel and potentially see how well I like this lifestyle before I get into it. Some people just do it and they get into it. Maybe they don't like it. Others, like I've met today, and so far, I have met a few people at different camps that I've spoken to that, yeah, they do this. They don't have a house to go back to. They have friends, they have family, that they may go visit, through their travels and stay. But, all their friends and family all say the same thing. You're crazy. But I'm really loving it. It's, I mean, I've already experienced the, campsite, pack up, leave the next day, and get to your next destination. And I felt rush for those 3 days visiting 3 different campsites, just because, well, I didn't have any reservation, and so I was kind of forced to do that. And I felt a little exhausted because it's like, no, I'd like a full day and a full night to maybe relax and enjoy the spot that I'm at. I can see if maybe I was traveling somewhere and had a destination to get to by a certain time, probably wouldn't have been so bad. I want to, and that might be my trip to Alaska, which I will go. I definitely probably wouldn't want to do it in my little Jeep. I want something a little bit bigger, a little bit more roomier, for the comfort of being able to travel a little bit longer distance. Whether that's being able to have a bigger cooler that I can get ice in, or maybe just having something like a extra battery to charge a little fridge cooler. Ice is really nice to have, especially in the summer. Keeping a cold drink around is great. Having a little extra food, and not just having to stop at the store every 2-3 days, because that's pretty expensive. I'm gonna have to keep a tally, but I do want, if it was something I was going to travel and do this full time, I definitely would want something a little bit bigger. Really like those ProMasters. I am waiting for a certain van to come out, though, before I invest that much money. And we'll see. They've had the prototype out. They said it would be out on 2025, but now they're saying not until 2026. So I'm following a certain van, and that might be the one I trade my Jeep in for. Not quite sure yet. I'd have to wait. I like to wait and see what people say after it's been out for a year or two, you know, what problems, what issues, things like that they ran into. But anyways, I need to head back to camp. It's 9 o'clock now. Really glad I made the choice. Sometimes part of this is because I get complacent. And like I got to the campsite and I just wanted to get comfortable. I was a little afraid, and that's part of my problem. It's being afraid of the unknown. It's like, I'm going to get out there. I don't know what the parking lot situation is. Don't know if it's going to be overly crowded. You know, it's 20 minutes. Do I really want to drive in the dark? You know, things like that. You know, all this that you put inside your head that makes it uncomfortable for you want to go out. Kind of had to force myself to leave that campsite because my true whole reason for coming out was to do stargazing. And as I've heard people say from watching these channels of the other people traveling around, you know, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And that is what I'm going for. And last night was just, you know, reinforcement of that, you know, no, I didn't get the spectacular recordings and videos that I wanted. I'm still trying to figure out the right settings for every situation, and lighting. And maybe I don't have the best camera for that. And, you know, some of me is thinking that that is what it is. I'm still working on the GoPro settings. Something we'll talk about later. You know, when I can 100% say with confidence, I know exactly what I'm doing with this camera. I know exactly what my settings are for, and I'm not getting those shots that I'm going out for. Then I will give a full review, because there's been sometimes I've gotten, you know, like I did get a great moon lapse. I didn't get the duration that I wanted, and I got to figure out why. You know, is it just, but like last night I didn't get the duration that I wanted, and I know that the camera can go longer because I've done it, even though it was only 3 hours of, let's say, filming or recording, and the duration was still short, you know, only 60 seconds. But that's what the camera does. Now, I would have been happy had I gotten that, but I only got like 8 seconds of footage. And I didn't get the footage I wanted, which was a starry night with a couple meteors going by. I don't know if tomorrow night, because tonight was the peak of the meteor shower. So I'm going to go back to camp, see if I can't get some editing I'm working on for my last camping trip, which I only sent the highlights out, but I haven't done the full version of my full experience of packing, unpacking, all that good stuff. And, well, yeah, so I'm going to work on that, and then I'm going to research a little bit more about the GoPro settings and, you know, see what did I do wrong. Yeah, why didn't I get my starry night shot? Even when I tried to focus on the moon lapse. And I'm hoping tonight when I come back to this parking lot, because some of the people that, there's a few people that have stayed here, and they were not used to this parking lot being so full and people coming in that all night hours. And although the meteor shower is going from now, the peak, till the 14th, which you're supposed to see a lot. Now, I'll tell you, I didn't see a whole lot, you know. I could literally count the amount. Now, some people were saying, I seen a lot. But I was looking in the same direction as them, and tell you the truth, I only seen maybe about 10 shooting stars in all sorts of different directions. They're not just coming from, one particular spot. And the GoPro has a wide camera view, and it should have caught all of the shooting stars. And it really didn't. It didn't catch anything. But again, it stopped like every 8 seconds. So, and I know I need more time. So operator error, we'll chalk it up to that. All right, I've chatted enough. I need to get on the road. We'll chat more when I get back to camp and try to get some things set up. So yeah, let's get on the road and stay tuned. I'm hoping I've got 2 more nights to give this a try. Last night the moon was not a full moon, but it was still so bright that it did shine a lot of light. Tomorrow night there will be less of a moon, so hopefully it won't be as bright. I'm thinking the 14th it'll be the lesser of a moon, but I'm hoping I get the footage in one night, tomorrow night, so maybe the next night I can just relax at camp before heading back and enjoy my campsite that I'm paying for. And next year I'll know better and not pay for a campsite and just come to the parking lot and then maybe go hang out down at one of the lakes or something like that for a day and just pay the day price. Might even invest in a year, and that this actually might be a great idea even for camping for next summer, and just go get a annual pass where I don't have to pay for day use, hang out at one of the lakes, because there's many lakes I would like to travel at, and not have to pay, for a campsite, because I'm just sleeping in my car at night. So with that being said, we're going to head back. All right. I will see you back at camp.